Oh, hey there, how's it going? It's me, Thankyou, and after playing Age of Calamity, it's left me with many thoughts and questions. But before I answer anything, I just want to quickly put it out there. This video has major spoilers for Age of Calamity, and I'd hate to spoil this game for anyone. So please, if you aren't ready for that, hit the like button, save the video to your watch later list, subscribe, and come back after you've played through. Now, having said that and giving sufficient time for you all to put on something else in my playlist of theories, let's get right into this video. With the release of Age of Calamity, we can finally go back 100 years and observe the various battles Link and the champions took part in. But what in the world are these things? The game refers to them as hollows, and it's pretty obvious they are made from blight matter. So just what are they? Well, thinkers, sit back, get cozy, and be sure to follow me on Twitter later because it's time for a thought process. Hollows. These unusual and familiar forms are first encountered in Korok Forest during the battle to free Korok Forest. Looking at the champions' hollows physically, it's pretty obvious they're pretty much identical to the champions of the past. However, when you look at how they behave, it's clear that their attack combinations and abilities are also the same as the champions. So just what is a hollow exactly? Some kind of zombie? Or perhaps a copy or some form of mimicry? Or is it all of the above, happening all at once? Well, to answer this properly, we need to understand how the corruptive blight magic of Calamity works when used to create the hollows, among other things. So taking a closer look at the blight matter and what we can observe about its behavior, we can deduce the following. Most things the blight matter comes into contact with end up corrupted and controlled. In a lot of cases, the body is completely changed as the blight matter takes full control. In the case of the dragon deity Naydra, it fell victim to the blight matter and was under the control of Calamity Ganon because of this. However, there is a catch. Naydra is one of the few examples where one can fall victim to the corruptive influence of blight matter and still turn out okay, if freed in time, of course. As we can see, Naydra visibly has blight matter on its body, but is still alive and can be freed by Link from the hold of the blight matter, which, sadly, is a lot more than I could say for the many other creatures and people whom never escaped, like the champions. Speaking of which, why are the hollows, which at this point I'm going to pretty much say are the champions of the future timeline where the events of Breath of the Wild take place, now fighting Link in the past during the events of Age of Calamity? Just how did the hollow champions travel back in time? Well, it's actually pretty easy to explain. In fact, it's a detail we see right at the beginning of Age of Calamity. When the opening cutscene plays, we see two guardians activating. The first and most obvious guardian to activate is the mystery guardian in the crate, in response to Zelda's call to action. Then, in response to this, Calamity Ganon possessed a guardian stalker nearby and tries to fire upon the mystery guardian, who narrowly escapes the blast and jumps into the portal through time. Now, watch very closely because you might miss it like I did the first time I played. The moment Calamity knew it had missed, we actually see the red blight of Calamity Ganon leaving the Stalker Guardian to follow the Mystery Guardian through the portal in time. This clearly shows that Calamity Ganon traveled back in time, along with the Mystery Guardian, to the past where Age of Calamity is set, and in a rather strange twist of events, Calamity found and possessed the body of the Mystery Guardian that existed in the past. But even more important to note, In this particular point of time that Calamity had traveled back in time, he had already defeated Link, slain the champions, and absorbed the champions' organic matter, adding their bodies and their powers to its collective intelligence. Now that said, this raises another question, which is a side note, but still rather important. Why are there two baby guardians in the past? One good and one bad. And how does this relate to the Hollow's creation, as well as the Blights? And why does HoloLink even exist? Well, I'll answer all of that in just a moment, but I think it's wise to point out to all you epic thinkers watching that this next part contains major spoilers to Age of Calamity. Here's just a few seconds right now for anyone not wanting to see spoilers to pause the video and skip ahead. Now, with that second spoiler warning done, let's try to answer some of these questions at the very least. So, let's start with the easiest question. How are the Hollow champions and the Blights connected to the possessed baby guardian of the past? Well, one explanation simply put is that the Blights are the champions of the past, and so too are the Hollows. If that's the case, then what gives? What makes them different? Well, pretty much barely anything, except for one detail. Remember how in one of my previous videos, I touched upon explaining how Calamity Ganon may have assumed control of the divine beasts by corrupting and controlling the champions by trapping them in what is speculated to be power armor made by the Sheikah to amplify their powers and work in combination with the divine beasts. If the answer is no, you haven't seen it, there's a link in the top right corner for it, as well as within the video description. Now, for those of you who have seen that video, well, I think you can see where I'm going with this. The Blights are just the hollow corpses of the champions in the past that were absorbed by Ganon, just simply summoned in their now fully corrupted state, which likely is a more powerful state of being compared to the hollow champions and even the living champions themselves. Remember previously that we made the observation that Blight magic seems to have a memory of whatever it absorbs. Well, perhaps the Blights could have been summoned at any point within Age of Calamity, but of course, Calamity Ganon would follow some kind of strategy, right? Calamity's behavior has always followed a methodical and insidious approach of collecting and corrupting its enemies and their weapons and turning them back against one another. Now, based on this parasitic behavior that Calamity Ganon exhibits, it's possible the reasoning behind why the Blights have been summoned into the past timeline by Calamity Ganon is because the Hollows simply failed to prevent the Master Sword from being freed, and overall, they failed to kill the champions, the princess, and the chosen hero. Hence why Calamity Ganon then escalated to using the Blights to once again assume control over the divine beasts and kill the other champions in the past. At least, that's what its plans were. Anyway, remember that during the time period the champions fought against the Blights in Age of Calamity, we already see malice leaking from the divine beasts. This infers that Calamity had managed to take control of the beasts in this timeline prior to killing the champions, and that's more than likely only possible because the Blights themselves contain the hollow corpses of the champions and their abilities. Now that I've answered that particular question, let's answer the final question. So, I saved this one for last because, honestly, it's pretty wild and extremely speculatory to answer, and some may find it a bit of a cop-out, but I do genuinely want to know what you all think in the comments below, so comment what you think of the following answer to this question. Why does Link and HoloLink exist? Well, the first answer is that perhaps there was 3 timelines. A reboot of the original 3, a downfall timeline where the champions and Link all died, and their bodies and abilities were absorbed by Ganon, but the final disaster was averted when Zelda fooled Ganon into leaving the timeline by traveling into the past with the Mystery Guardian. Then, a second timeline, the adult timeline, where Link was resurrected some 100 years later to return to a ruined but salvageable Hyrule to bring new life to it once more, just like the Hero of Time did in Ocarina of Time. And lastly, a third rebooted timeline, the Child timeline, 100 years ago, where Link was able to avert the crisis and defeat the evil before it could bring ruin, with the immense power of Zelda's help, of course. I do quite genuinely love this idea of a rebooted timeline. However, it causes so much of a shift within the main timeline already that it's gonna cause a huge headache when I try to make a video explaining that. So, link in the top right corner for when that comes out, if at all. The other more easier alternative to explaining Hollow Link in the past is that Ganon couldn't fully absorb Link's body, but came into contact with it, much like Naydra, and likely his form and movesets were indeed copied, but Link escaped or was saved from such a fate by Zelda. Unless Link really did die in the past timeline, yeah, nah, kidding. We saw him wake up good as new back at the beginning of Breath of the Wild. Sadly though, the champions really did die in the future, and were completely integrated within the Great Calamity's collective hive mind or intelligence. Anyway, that crazy explanation of the Hollows aside, I'm out of time, thinkers. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe for more videos, and let me know what you think and theorize in the comments below. Also, super duper real quick, but check out this week's shirt design. Thinkers, now you can proudly wear your love for the channel and look awesome at the same time. Links to the online store over on teespring.com in the video description below. Oh, and one more thing. All of the amazing designs and the majority of my channel's wonderful art is crafted by my lovely and beautiful partner, who, if you haven't guessed it already, is my channel artist. So if you could go over and show them some support, go check them out on Instagram at ElfspringArt. Love you always, Elfie. Anyway, thinkers, be sure to think safe. I'm gonna go head on over to the gaming channel on Christafurr and stream some Age of Calamity. I'll see you all there, thinkers. Bye-bye.